Good afternoon, students. I welcome you all for the class. Today, we'll be going to start second unit, that is the memory system. So, till the last class, we have seen the first unit, that is the basic structure of computers. In that, we have covered many of the important basic concepts which relates to the computer organization. That is like what are the different types of computers, like functional units, like operational concepts regarding the input-output organization. So everything we have studied in our first unit. So from today, we'll be going to start our second unit, that is the memory system. So in this memory system, like we'll be going to study what are the basic concepts, like we'll be going to study regarding the semiconductor RAM memories, read-only memories, what is the speed, size and cost of these memories, and very importantly a cache memory, and what is the performance of the cache memory, what are virtual memories, and what are the memory management requirements regarding the secondary storage devices. Everything we'll be going to see in our second unit. Fine. So today we'll be going to start with our introductory part of the memory unit. So let me tell you regarding the memory first. So what do you mean by a memory? So as we have seen in the functional units of a computer system, like what are the three major functional units? Input output unit, memory unit, arithmetic and logical unit, and the control unit. So these are the four major basic functional components of a computer. So in the first unit we have covered the input output organization, how we are going to access the peripheral devices. So accessing, what do you mean by an interface, everything we have covered in our first unit. So here in this class we'll be going to discuss regarding the memory. So the memory is one of the major functional part of a computer system. So without this memory, it is like an empty box. So that's the reason the memory should be there in order to store our data. Whatever the data we are going to process, that data should be stored. So the CPU will process on that stored data, and this is the process we will be going to do. So this memory unit is a collection of storage unit or devices together, we can say. Fine. So here, this memory unit stores the binary information. Like it is going to store the binary information. What do you mean by a binary information? Binary information is nothing but zeros and ones. Fine. So when it comes to the binary information, this memory is going to store this binary information, which is in the form of zeros and ones. So it stores the binary information. So binary information is nothing but zeros and ones. So that format information we call it as a binary information. So generally this memory is going to be classified into two categories. So what are those two categories? In the sense, like you will be going to have the volatile memory and non-volatile memory. So we'll be going to discuss this later. First, we'll be going to discuss regarding the memory. So when we are going to talk regarding this memory, so you will be going to have a hierarchy like this. So you will be going to have the hierarchy like this. So here in this hierarchy, in the bottom line, it falls of secondary storage devices, and above the bottom line it is the main memory. Above the main memory we'll be going to have cache memory. Here we'll be going to have a processor. So at the top, CPU processor will be there. In the processor, some amount of space is allocated for resistors. Fine. So this part is the processor, right? In this processor, this part is allocated for resistors. Fine. This part, like I'm talking regarding this part is allocated for resistors. So here this is the memory hierarchy actually speaking. So last one is the secondary memory, main memory, cache memory, and the CPU over here. In the CPU, inside the CPU, some amount of space is given for resistors. So resistors are also used for storing purposes. So this is the hierarchy. Here, as here it is shown, this is the hierarchy. Fine. So in this hierarchy, mm, we'll be going to have resistors on the top. So resistors on the top in the sense a CPU, and some amount of space in the CPU is allocated for resistors. So why, what is the purpose of resistors? So here resistors are also used for storing the information. So the major purpose of resistor is used for storing the information. So when we are going to store the information, so resistors can't handle much amount of information. So that is the drawback of resistors. Why we are not going for the resistors? Why? Because resistors can't store much of the information. Only limited amount of uh, information is going to be stored on the registers. Next one is the cache. So cache in the sense like you will be going to have L1 cache and L2 cache. So this L1 cache, like when we are going to talk regarding this L1 cache, this is located on the processor chip only. This is located on the processor chip, and this L2 cache is lies between the main memory and the primary cache. So this is main memory and the primary cache. Here we will be going to make use of the L2 cache. Main memory as we all know. So the importance of main memory is, so this main memory is much larger, but significantly it is very much slower than the cache memory. So the main memory is about to process the data. So CPU will communicate only with the main memory in order to do any sort of processing. So that is the importance of main memory. Each and everything should be there in the main memory only. Then only CPU is going to take the information from the main memory and it is going to process the data. And the secondary memory in the sense we can store huge amount of data in the secondary storage memory. So this is the basic hierarchy of memories. Lastly, secondary memory. Before above the secondary memory, main memory. Above the main memory, L2 cache. Above the L2 cache, L1 cache will be there. Above it, resistors. In the processor, some amount of space is going to be given for resistors, and this L1 cache. Fine. This is how the hierarchy is going to be. So as I have said you, this memory is like a human brain. It's just like a human brain. Why I am telling that it is like a human brain? Why? Because it is used to store the data and instructions. So in our brain also we used to store some instructions. Here also this is used to store data and instructions. Fine. So computer memory is the storage space in the computer. So in that storage space the data is going to be processed, and the instructions that are required for processing the data is going to be taken from the main memory. So that is the important of memory. Here this memory is divided into large number of small parts called, we call it as a cells. Suppose we are telling that this is the memory. So this memory is divided into small parts. Each part we call it as a cell. Fine. So each location or a cell has a unique address. Each cell is going to have a unique address. Unique address in the sense each and every cell address differs from one another. So each cell is going to have the unique address. So which varies from 0 to memory size -1. Suppose for example in our computer it is having a 64K in the sense Then this memory unit has 64 into 1024. Mostly it is equals to uh, 65536 memory locations it is going to have. Fine. This is how you are going to calculate the memory address. So this memory is divided into small locations. Each location we call it as a cell. Each cell is going to have a different unique address. Fine. So this addresses depends on the capacity of the memory processor. Fine. This is how we'll be going to have the introduction to a memory. So here the speed of the memory access is critical. The idea is to bring instructions and data that will be used in the near future as close to the processor as possible. Fine, that is the main motto why we are going for these many memories. Like you will be going to have a doubt like we are having the main memory, and why we are going to have a cache memory between the main memory and the CPU. Why? Because the main memory is very slow, whereas the CPU is very fast. Fine. CPU is very fast and the main memory is very slow. In order to match the speed between the CPU and the main memory, we are incorporating a cache in between the CPU and the main memory. Fine. In order to match the speed between the CPU and the main memory. So what is the cache memory? What is the main memory? We will be going to discuss in the next slides. Fine. So this is the basic introduction regarding the memory. So as I have said you, a memory is just like an human brain. Why? Because it is used to store the data and the instructions. That's why we are telling that it is a human brain. Or else you can say it as a memory unit is the collection of storage units or devices together. So each memory unit stores the binary information in the form of bits. Fine, we call it as a bits. So this generally memory storage is classified into two types. The first one is the volatile memory and the next one is the non-volatile memory. So this is the introductory part that I have explained you. So when it comes to this thing, volatile memory and non-volatile memory. So volatile memory in the sense, so it is the data is going to be lost when we are going to switch off the power. Non-volatile in the sense it is a permanent storage. Even though if you switch off our computer also, like the data will be stored. So that is the difference between the volatile and the non-volatile memory. Here, the total memory capacity of a computer can be visualized by the hierarchy of components. So, what are the hierarchy of components? As I have said you, magnetic tapes, magnetic disk, main memory, cache memory, and the processor. So, that is the hierarchy we will be going to have. Fine. The memory hierarchy system consists of all storage devices contained in a computer system. Why? Because like we have different hierarchy systems, different levels stores the different types of information. So that is the importance of this these many different types of memories. So this is the classification of memory. So in this classification of memories, we are going to have uh, the different types of memories. Fine. What are the different types of memories in the sense? Different types of the memories in computer organization. Like here are this is the diagram that is going to be represented regarding the different types of memories in computer organization. So here the first one is RAM and ROM. So what do you mean by a RAM? Fine. RAM is nothing but random access memory. Fine. Here, as I have said you before, this memory is the most essential element of a computing system because without the memory, the computer can't perform even a single task. So we can't perform even a single task without a memory. So that is the main uh, thing when we are going to study regarding the memory. So we can't perform even a single task without this memory. So that's that much important. So here the computer memory is classified into the major classification of computer memory is the first one is RAM and the second one is ROM. This is the computer memory classification. RAM in the sense read only memory, RAM in the sense random access memory. Fine. This is the two classifications. The first classification is RAM and the second classification is ROM. Read only memory and the random access memory. So this it is also called this random access memory. We can also call it as an read write memory. Read write memory. Fine. Here this there are many names for this random access memory. We can call it as a read write memory, or else we can call it as a main memory, or else we can call it as a primary memory. There are different names for this RAM. So RAM is the read only memory. The different names for the RAM are, the first one is read write memory. We can call also call it as a main memory, and we can also call it as the primary memory. So these are the different names which we are going to given for the RAM. So first we will be going to study regarding the RAM. Fine. RAM in the sense, as I have said you, random access memory. Fine. So when we are going to talk regarding this random access memory, so it is a very important. Why I am telling that it is very important in the sense, so each and every program is going to be stored in RAM only. So that is how this random access memory is very important. So the programs and data that the CPU requires during execution are stored in this memory. Fine. So without this RAM, we can't store the programs and the data. So uh, this RAM contains a multiplexing and demultiplexing circuitry inside it. Why? Because to connect the data lines to the address storage, we need that multiplexing and demultiplexing lines. So it is a volatile memory as the data losses when the power is turned off. This is all we know. So this RAM is further classified into SRAM and DRAM. So SRAM in the sense static RAM, DRAM in the sense dynamic RAM. So this is the regarding the static RAM and the dynamic RAM. So dynamic RAMs are constructed of tiny capacitors that leak electricity, that produce electricity. Static RAMs consisted of circuit similar to D flip-flops. Fine. So DRAM requires a recharge every few milliseconds. Why? Because here we are going to make use of capacitors. So when we are going to make use of capacitors, charging and discharging should be done. So charging and discharging is going to be done. That's why it requires a few recharge for every few milliseconds. It holds its, when it comes to static RAM, it holds its contents as well as the power is available. This DRAM is inexpensive, but these static RAMs are very expensive. So these DRAMs are slower than static RAMs. These static RAMs are very much faster. Why? Because the flip-flop circuitry is very much faster than this capacitor circuitry. This DRAMs can store many bits per chip. Here, when it comes to the static RAM, it cannot store many bits per chip. So DRAM uses less power, but when it comes to the static RAM, it is used to have more power. When we are coming to DRAM, it generates less electricity, it heat. When it comes to static RAM, it generates more heat. This DRAM is used for main memory, and this SRAM is used for cache memory. So these are the differences that are going to be tell about this different types of RAMs, that is dynamic RAM and the static RAM. So what is the main difference between this dynamic RAM and the static RAM is dynamic RAM uses capacitors over here, but whereas the static RAM uses flip-flop circuits. As they are using capacitors, dynamic RAM, so charging is going to be finished off. So we have to keep on recharging. Why? Because capacitor in the sense charging and discharging action will be taking place. So we need a continuous recharging of those capacitors. When it comes to flip-flops, there is no need to do that. Once if the power is, as long as the power is there, the contents are going to be available. So that is the two classification of static RAM and the dynamic RAM. And next one is ROM. So when we are going to talk regarding this read only memories. So here read only memory in the sense as the name itself indicates, read only memory, it is a type of storage medium. Fine, it is a type of storage medium. Like RAM, it is a type of a storage medium. Here, the main important thing is it is going to store data permanently. So that is the important thing over here. So, and it contains a programming need to start a PC, which is essential for a boot up process. Why? Because it performs a major input output task and holds programs and other software instructions. Why? That's the reason we need a boot up process for this read only memory. So here the data stored in ROM cannot be electronically modified. Why? Because after the manufacturing of the memory devices, it can't at all be possible when it comes to the read only memory. Fine. Read only memories are used for storing the data permanently. That is the important thing when we are going to talk regarding this read only memory. So here, as I have said you, it is not volatile. Not volatile in the sense the data stored in this cannot be lost when the power is off. Always retains the data. So that is the important thing. This is majorly used in embedded systems where programming needs no change. So it is used in calculators and peripheral devices. So this ROM is further divided into four types: ROM, PROM, EPROM and EEPROM. So these are the four different types of ROMs. So first we'll be going to study regarding the PROM. PROM in the sense programmable read-only memory. So it can be programmed by the user. Once programmed, the data and instructions, it cannot be changed. But when it comes to the EPROM, that is erasable programmable read-only memory. So it has a and it has the capability of erasing the data. So it is going to expose to ultraviolet rays. So that is going to be electrically erasable. I mean, erasable programmable in the sense like it is going to be the data. In order to erase the data, we have to expose that data to the ultraviolet rays so that the data is going to be erased. To reprogram it, we have to erase the whole content what we have written in the previously. So that is EPROM. And next one is electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. So the data can be erased by applying the electric field. So without this electric field, we can't erase the data. Here we are not going to make use of this ultraviolet rays. So we can erase only a portions of the chip. So that is these are the different types of ROMs: PROM, EPROM and AEPROM. So this is how we'll be going to have different types of ROMs. Now and finally we'll be going to see regarding the difference between the RAM and the ROM. So as we all know, RAM is a temporary storage and ROM is a permanent storage. RAM stores the data in MBs. Here, this ROM is going to store the data in GBs. It is volatile. It is non-volatile. Here, it is used in normal operation. It is used for startup process, or else we can say it as a booting process. Writing the data is faster. Here, the writing of data is slower. So these are the differences between RAM and ROM. Next one, we are going to talk regarding the speed, size and cost of different memories. Here, this diagram tells you regarding the speed, size and cost of different memories. Here, when it comes to the secondary memory, this is very large space will be available. When it comes to the main memory, here we'll be going to have less space. Cache in the sense when compared to the main memory, it is very less. When it comes to the primary cache, that is resistors are also over here. So these resistors very less space. So as we are moving upwards, the speed is going to be increased, accessing speed is going to be increased. So why the accessing speed is going to be increased? Why? Because suppose if secondary memory is capable of storing 100 instructions, main memory is capable of storing 50 instructions, and cache is going to store 25 instructions, and CPU registers are capable of storing 5 instructions. Fine. So this is for example. So if I want to search some 98th instruction in 100 instructions, it is going to take much amount of time. So the accessing speed is nothing but fetching of instruction speed. So that speed is going to be very more. Why? Because as there are 100 instructions, suppose for example in your class in A section 60 students are there, and in B section 60 students are there. So if I want to find some X person, I can find out easily in 60 students. But when it comes to 120 students sitting together, it will be a bit difficult for me to point out that particular X person among the 120 students. What I mean to say is, if there are less number of instructions, I can easily identify the my instruction. That if there are more number of instructions, the finding of a particular instruction is going to be a bit difficult. That's what I mean to say. Here the secondary memory is capable of holding like many of number of instructions are going to be more in secondary memory, so that which instruction I want to need, which instruction I'm looking for, I can find it, but it is going to be time taking. So that is access time is going to be more. But when it comes to the 50 instructions, here if I have taken 20 minutes to find my task, here I can find it in 10 minutes only. Here I can find it in when it comes to the cache memory, I can find it in 5 minutes. When it comes to the resistor, I can find it in 2 minutes. So here, when we are going high or when we are going up, the accessing speed is going to be increased. Why? Because if the accessing speed is increased, then the performance is also going to be increased. Performance, how it is going to be increased in the sense, it depends on the accessing speed. What is the accessing speed is number of bits executed per second, that we call it as an access speed. So the speed is going to be increased over here. So here the speed is going to be increased, and increasing cost, and we are going to regarding the cost, and we are going to say regarding the size. So here the speed is increasing. So whenever the speed is increasing, here the cost is also increasing. Why? Because here when we want to buy the pen drive, secondary storage devices in the sense hard disk, floppy disk, pen drives, all these are the examples of secondary storage devices. We can easily buy the secondary storage devices, but when it comes to the resistors, cache memory, they are very expensive. So that's the reason the cost of when we are going to when we are going up, the cost is going to be increasing. Cost is also increasing. Now coming to the size. So the size the size is going to be decreasing. Why? Because here when it comes to the resistors, as I have said you, here only two instructions are going to be stored. When it comes to the cache, here we are going to store only 25 instructions. When we are going to come to the main memory, here we can store only 50 instructions, and we come to the secondary memory, here we can store only 100 instructions. That means the size is increasing. So there will be an increase in size. Sorry, there will be a decrease in size. So size is in the sense number of instructions that we are going to store is going to be decreased. Why? Because when it comes to the registers, we can store very less. When compared to the registers, the cache can store a bit more in main memory, a bit more in secondary memory. So the size, the storage of instructions from the top to bottom is going to be decreased. Secondary memory can store much amount of data. Main memory very less when compared to secondary memory. Cache memory very less compared to main memory, and registers very less when compared to the cache. So this is how the speed, cost and size of different memories are going to be done. So when we are going to take the size, so size in the sense here uh, the number of instructions it can hold is going to be decreasing from top to bottom. So that is the size. Cost in the sense the cost is going to be increasing. When we are going to from the bottom, the cost is going to be increasing, and speed is also going to be increasing from the top to bottom. This is how the speed, size and cost are going to be done. So resistors in the sense, as I have said you, so processor resistors are at the top in terms of accessing speed. Why? Because in the CPU only we are having resistors. So this is the CPU. Some space is allocated for resistors. If CPU want any instruction, first it will fetch in resistors. So here less access time. So CPU can't go far distance. Here only it is fabricated inside only, so that it can take the data very much. If not there in registers, it has to check in cache. If not there in cache, it has to check in main memory. If not there in main memory, like then we have to get the data from secondary memory to main memory. But CPU can't contact directly to the secondary memory. That concept we will be going to study later. Fine. CPU will contact only the main memory but not the secondary memory. If the instruction what we are fetching, if that is not in the main memory, what we have to do is, the operating system what it will do is, it will be going to take that particular instruction from the secondary memory to the main memory, so that CPU will take that instruction from the main memory. That's it. But the CPU can't contact directly the secondary memory. So that is the thing. When it comes to the cache memory, so it is the fastest memory. Why? Because near to the CPU the cache will be there. And what is the purpose of this cache is, this cache is used to hold the copies of the instructions and data stored in a memory. So for example, the main memory data, a copy of data is going to be stored in the cache memory. If CPU wants it, it will directly take it from the cache memory. In the cache, if the data is not present, then only it will go for the main memory. So the access time is going to be very much fast. Why? Because cache is containing the less number of instructions, so that it can fetch the instruction very much easily. So in the cache, we are going to have two types of caches. The first one is the L1 cache and L2 cache. This L1 is fabricated on the chip itself, fine, in the processor chip only. This L2 is going to be placed between the between the primary cache and the secondary memory. So it is referred to as L2 cache, fine. And next one is the main memory. So this main memory is uh, much larger but slower than the cache memory. When compared to cache memory, it is slower. So the access time to the main memory is about 10 times longer than the access time of L1 cache. So L1 access time is very less when compared to the main memory access time. When next to the secondary memory, the secondary memory, it is going to have, or it is going to store huge amount of memory It is less expensive, but it is very slow. Why? Because the instructions stored in the secondary are very more. So in order to fetch the instruction from those many instructions is very highly difficult. So that is the reason we are telling that the secondary memory is going to be very slow accessing speed. So this is how we'll be going to have different types of memories, their accessing speeds, their cost, their size, and the different classifications of memories. Everything we have seen in the introductory part and basic concepts of this memory system. So this is how the memory is going to be organized. So the memory, we can say it as the brain of the computer. So without the memory we can't store the data and the instructions. Without storing we can't perform anything on the stored data. So that is the reason the memory is going to be playing a vital role in the computer system. That's it for today's class, and in the tomorrow's class we will be going to discuss another important concept, that is the cache memory. We have seen the basics over here, and tomorrow we'll be going to see in detail the cache memory. What is different cache memories, what are the different types, everything we'll be going to see in the tomorrow's class. That's all for today, students. Thank you all. Have a great day.